Welcome welcome all to the Karate America live stream. Welcome everybody. It's our community live stream. We are streaming live on our private Facebook group page for all of our students and families. We are also streaming live on our YouTube page, Karate America Community. Welcome especially to our special guests tonight, much anticipated, Mr. Menenal. Thank you for being here with us tonight, sir.
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this for a while now.
Yeah. And Mrs. Cobb, the woman, the myth, the legend. It's great to have you with us tonight, Mrs. Cobb. We're so excited.
Best laugh ever.
Best laugh ever, I think. Yeah. So thank you both for being here with us tonight. You know, I don't know if you guys knew this or not. I think I mentioned this to maybe one or both of you, but when I mentioned last week that you were going to be the guest tonight, people were like, wow, we're looking forward to it. So I didn't know did you know that you have a following?
Yeah. No.
Did you know that you're like Karate America famous? Did you know that?
No.
I would have said Mrs. Cobb was definitely Karate America famous.
I think that
I've been there long enough.
I think that the reason that the fact that you guys don't know you're famous is why you're famous. You are down to earth. You guys are just amazing people, and you're so much fun to be with in class and in the community. So thank you so much for making time in your busy week to be here with us and hang out tonight and chat. We are going to go through some announcements, and then we are going to get into it tonight. We have Mr. Menenau and Mrs. Cobb as our special guests tonight. They are both unique guests, and we're going to get into that in a couple of minutes because they've seen many different aspects of the Karate America journey. So I'm really anxious to talk to them tonight. But before we do that, we have some announcements to make. So we have our summer camp spots are filling up fast. I don't know how many we have left at Brookfield, but it's not many. So if you're waiting to see if you're going to get your kiddo registered for camp at Brookfield, do not hesitate. Go on the app, call Miss Hanson, talk to Mr. Hanson, talk to Miss Phillips. And if you have any questions, get them answered because you definitely want to get that spot reserved. We have some spaces left at our Pewaukee location. Those are going to go fast too. So make sure that if you want your kiddo to experience an amazing summer with Karate America over at our Pewaukee location, you get them signed up for summer camp fast. We got underbelt graduation and STAR tests coming up on April 24th. So that's going to be, it's always an amazing, inspiring event. Our graduation, students going to their next belt level, our master's team black belts earning their next STAR. Don't miss it. If you have questions, if you're wondering whether your student is going to be graduating or any of the details, make sure you talk to your team at your academy, whether that's Worldwide, Brookfield, or Pewaukee. Follow up with them and find out if you're graduating, and if you are, what needs to happen on the 24th to make it a great day for you and your family. We have our spring merch sale starting the week of April 25th. So that Monday is the 26th. That's when it's going to go live on the KA app. We have our amazing tie-dye t-shirts this year. So you've seen the rainbow one. I know. You're just on brand, Mrs. Cobb. I
I'm so excited.
I know you got the memo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have our rainbow one has been already unveiled. And then I think it was last night, I was actually at the Brookfield Academy and Mr. Hanson unveiled the blue tie-dye, which is very sharp. And there's a third one coming, a third and final one. And I can't divulge the secrets, but it's pretty fantastic. So you're going to want to see that third tie-dyed color scheme and get your t-shirts because we have warm weather starting soon. That means t-shirts and uniform pants and belts for all of our classes in the summer, which here in southeastern Wisconsin, we get pretty excited about. So that's coming up in a few weeks. Another big announcement is we have restarted our in-person birthday parties and celebration parties. Yay! At both our Pewaukee and our Brookfield locations. So if you or somebody you love is celebrating a birthday, it doesn't have to be a birthday, it could be a special celebration, a special accomplishment. It could be, hey, we've all been cooped up over quarantine and we want to hang out and burn off some energy and just be with our friends. We are following all the guidelines. We are socially distancing. We're limiting capacity. We're wearing masks. We're doing the disinfecting. We have the special UVA filtration systems, which we have installed at both Brookfield and Pewaukee since the beginning of quarantine. I think it was last March or April we had those installed. So every square foot of air is recycled through that and sterilized every 15 minutes, which is a big plus for indoor spaces through that UVA filtration system. So if you have questions about that, and if you want to reserve your spot, I suggest you do it soon and talk to your team at Brookfield or Pewaukee and get your spot reserved for an in-person party. We also do really, really cool virtual parties with our worldwide team. Mr. Peeper runs awesome. If you guys have experienced Mr. Peeper virtually, he does game show nights, he does special events, he does orientations, he does birthday parties virtually, and they are a hoot. You do not, if you are a virtual family and for whatever reason, you're outside of our area or you just don't feel comfortable coming back for in-person yet, definitely follow up with Ms. DeWade and Mr. Peeper about a virtual party because they're really, really special and we can do that for your kids and their friends virtually. It's awesome.
Cool.
It's awesome. And let's see. Oh yeah, we got the summer camp yard sign contest, I hear is heating up. There is, if you put any family can do this, whether you're on Facebook or not, follow up with Ms. Hanson, Ms. Phillips, Mr. Knightsky, Mr. Kozlowski, Mr. Hanson, find out what the details are. But basically families, you can get a yard sign for our summer camp, stick it in your yard, take a picture of it, share it on our Facebook page, or if you're not on Facebook, no problem, send it to our Karate America team. They'll post it for you. Then your name gets entered into a raffle to win like some really, really cool prizes. I was at Brookfield last night and I saw this giant like crate of prizes. It's pretty cool. So definitely participate in our summer camp sign program if you're not already. Our excellence badge program for worldwide, we have, where we have it, we've got focus, magnet, and self-discipline magnet, no excuses. So moms and dads in our virtual worldwide program, your son or daughter, your student can earn these really, really cool magnet badges. I'm sure Mr. Peeper and Ms. DeWade have been talking about how they can get those. We'll mail them out to you. You can show them at home. They can earn the behavior badges at home. It's an amazing program. And if you're not already up to speed on it, how you get your student their badge, follow up with the worldwide team, and they will let you know how your student can earn their badges. Last but not least, I know there was some confusion about where to post the pictures for the summer camp yard signs. So here you go. It's right here. The Facebook pages to post those are Brookfield's Best Summer Camp and After School, or on Pewaukee's Best Summer Camp and After School. So go on Facebook, search for those two, and that's where you put your sign to participate in the contest. Those are our announcements for tonight. Whew, those are a lot. My team has me hopping, guys. All right, so when we already have comments here, you guys, Mr. Menino and Mrs. Cobb, you're inspiring people. Mrs. Jury is writing her black belt essay as she was waiting for our live stream to start. Is that not Karate America dedication or what? She's writing her black belt essay as she's watching the live stream. Yeah. I saw her last night in class. She is just all in.
The whole idea of being at the point of writing the black belt essay, that's pretty fantastic, actually.
That's pretty cool.
That's one of those amazing milestones. Like it's just the beginning. That's the coolest part, really.
Yep. You're about to get your pilot's license, as Mr. Mealy used to say, and then you're going to fly. So Mrs. Peeper she's been looking forward to this a lot. She's got like 3 comments already.
Who doesn't love Mrs. Peeper?
Who doesn't love Mrs. Peeper? Yeah, I have a little special announcement for Mrs. Peeper later. So yeah, she is one of our top fans. If we could give her a badge, we would. You guys are both Mrs. Peeper's heroes. How great, how inspiring. And Mrs. Jury is one-upping with legends.
Program for families.
What's that,
You
Mr.
might have
Menino?
just had a brilliant idea, ma'am.
What?
You just said there should be a badge for Mrs. Peeper.
I think there should be. I think you should earn
Maybe
like
there should be some levels of family badge. That would be pretty cool.
or earn a top live stream badge or something like that.
Something like that. That would be cool.
Yeah. Oh, and we got to hear, I know we're going to get to this later, but can we have, hey, Mr. Menino, how are you doing tonight?
I am fantastic.
I don't know if there are fan emojis, but if anybody can find a fan emoji, put it up for Mr. Menino. I don't know if there is
some form of something that just
some kind of a fantastic Mr. Menino is doing tonight. I was thinking
really
about
say that it's a bad kind of trademark, really.
I think it's great. I was actually thinking about the episode, and I was like, this episode's going to be fantastic because we're going to have Mr. Menino on. So.
Hey, I keep saying it. Someone's got to do it. It might as well be me.
If you're going to have a trademark, there are worse trademarks to have.
Right.
Fantastic.
even on some of those days where it may not be true, it's still better saying it.
Fake it till you make it.
That's what Mr. Quirk says. Yes.
Right.
Right.
There's some real truth to that whole concept.
Karate life lesson there. Well, again, thank you guys for being here on the live stream. So for those of you who may not know, Mr. Menino and Mrs. Cobb have been with our Karate America community for many years now, almost since the beginning of our Brookfield, our first location opening.
Yes.
Brookfield opened in 2003. And they were definitely among the most one of the first families that joined our academy in the early 2000s, in the mid 2000s. So we'll start off, ladies first. Mrs. Cobb, tell us about. We want to hear your story. Like, how did you hear about Karate America? How did you come to be part of our community? How did you first come to Karate America?
So, my two oldest kids, so Allie, there's Michael, and then Samantha. Some of you might know Samantha from being around there, but Allie is
from our summer camp after school team.
Right. And Allie, my oldest one, is now 26, married, living in Seattle. The next one's 23. And right. So when the oldest two were in Swanson, they had one of those family fun nights.
And they had an elementary school.
Yes, yep. And then they had an auction, and the karate part of the karate group was a $9.99 thing at the auction, and so we purchased two of them for Allie and Mike, and then they started coming and really enjoyed it. And I would talk to Miss Velsky, and she'd be like, "Now, when are you going to come?" And I'm like, "I can come too. It's not just them." And so they let me come. Believe that. But I was very excited about it. This is another like parent life lesson. As you're sending your kids off to new activities and saying, "Oh, no problem. You'll be fine. Just go. You'll have fun." I was so excited to go. And as I was driving there that night by myself for my first class, I was so nervous. I almost turned around and went home. Like, I'm not doing this. Like, what am I doing? And then once I got there, I had just a wonderful time. The instruction was wonderful. I was never felt to be like it was really my first time. I was encouraged. And boy, it's just really been a great experience ever since. So
did it look something like this, Mrs. Cobb? I love this picture.
Oh, right.
Oh, look at them. Okay, look at you guys' snow belts and your brand new white uniforms.
Yeah, right? So fun, isn't it?
I can't believe how tiny they are. It's crazy.
Right?
How little.
Right. I can't believe it. Where does that time go?
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, that's Miss Cobb. That's Miss Cobb, the summer camp counselor after school, one of our leaders in our community at Brookfield. That's little Miss Cobb when she was training in her little white uniform there with mom and her brother. I love that picture. It's an awesome picture. Well, I think that's so, really, truly, like, I know sort of what you're talking about. I took jujitsu classes before quarantine started. I started some jujitsu classes, and I was like the new kid, and driving in, and I had my little uniform, and it's like, this is no big deal. I've been around martial arts for 20 plus years, whatever, and I was nervous. I went to Mr. M. Quirk there in Menominee Falls, and I walked in. I didn't know anybody, and I had my weird uniform that's all stiff on, and I don't quite know where to go. And I think no matter where, especially as adults, it really gives me a lot of empathy for kids and for those new students. It's like, right. I think for a lot of us, especially at the Brookfield location, right, it's big and it's loud and it's bright and it's walk in, it's like, whoa. And sometimes that can be a little bit intimidating, but I'm really glad to hear that you had that experience. Right. So it sounds like your nerves just kind of melted away when you first stepped out on the floor, or did it take a few classes, are you saying?
No, I think after that first one, I knew I was ready to go. And everybody that was in the class after class stopped and said, "Oh, hi, I'm so-and-so, and so glad you're here." And I know anytime I've ever been in a class where there's been somebody new, I always tried to go and introduce myself and, said, if you have any questions, we're always here. I hope you feel welcome. And I think that's just really nice to have adults. As adults, you meet people at work, and then you meet people where else. And so karate class is just really kind of nice.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Love it. And you're still here. How many years later? How many years ago was that?
You know what? we were trying to figure it out, and I can't tell. And if Allie was in 3rd or 4th grade,
would that have been like
probably 10, so maybe 16 years.
I was gonna say, well, I would have clocked it at about 2005-ish.
Yeah,
somewhere in there.
That puts it 16 years this year.
Right, yeah. That's right about when I started, and I can't remember looking back if you were there before me or if I was there before you. I
think Mrs. Cobb might have been there a little bit before you, Mr. Mann. If I remember, first. It wasn't by much, but I thought it was a little bit before. How about you, Mr. Mann? What's your story with how you came to know about Karate America? What's your story?
Mine's even more not direct line. My wife was out with a friend at the Panera by Karate America having lunch, and on the table is one of the Karate America card boxes.
Yeah, or drop boxes.
Right.
Where you filled it out with a pen.
Yeah, Katie filled it out for our son Nathan, who was 4, maybe 5 at the time. Yep. And when you guys got back to us, it was just the timing worked out that it was up to me to take Nathan in for his first lesson. And that was back when we still had that little kind of training room in the front. And
the orientation room.
Me in there with Mr. Quirk and Mrs. Velsky, and they were just working with Nathan privately for his first intro lesson. And as soon as that was over, I signed us both up.
Both of you together.
Yeah, I didn't need an intro lesson of my own. Just seeing how Mr. Quirk worked with Nathan one-on-one was just I love this place. I have an instantaneous connection with these people. This is where I'm supposed to be. So I got home and mentioned to Katie that I signed us both up, and she was like, we really didn't have it in the budget for both of you. I'm like, well, we're going to have to figure that out because I signed a contract. Too late now. So even if I may have wanted to look into whether or not it was possible to get out of that contract, there was no way.
Talk about being all in right from moment one,
Absolutely.
Mr. Mann. I love it.
There were no other options. It was just one of those it's just where I'm supposed to be. And it just it was right. Just walking into that place, it's just right. Everything about it, I don't know. For me, I'm loud anyway, so going in there, and the loudness wasn't an intimidation for me. But it was the whole thing was really about Nathan. We had experiences with the YMCA with a lot of those group things that he was not really ever super interested in participating in any group stuff. So we weren't really comfortable with that because we wanted him to be exposed to a little bit more. So really, this just seemed like kind of a good possibility. And oddly enough, Nathan, his first class, he was a little nervous on the way there. He was 4 or 5. But when we got there, everybody was just so warm and welcoming. He went right out on the floor, bowed, started class, and really pretty much never even looked at me. So he didn't need any reassurance that it was okay. He was in. I mean, and he went to 2nd degree black belt, now he's freshman at UW Milwaukee and dealing with all of this COVID stuff. I really think that a lot of the stuff that he picked up as far as discipline and self-discipline really has allowed him to actually keep good grades. He's actually doing really good. Way better than he did in school. So,
that's awesome. Good for him.
Well, it's funny because I'm not sure Mr. Mendenhall was in adult class before I was, but Nathan and Sam, so Miss Cobb, hung out together when we were in adult class, and so they were buddies.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, and they're both at UWM.
They were over on the chairs.
Really? UW Milwaukee. I didn't know that. Yeah. We should definitely let them know that they're working out for each other.
Yeah, they were over on the chairs while you guys took classes. And,
Yep. And that's how we started talking more.
Yeah, I have to show this comment from Mr. Peeper. So it's a big comment, so it's going to obscure your faces, but here we go. Mr. Peeper says, I have to jump into 4th degree candidate class tonight, so I can't stay long. But I wanted to quickly say that I've been so lucky over the past 13 years of my martial arts journey to have known and still have you in my life. Thank you to you both of you for changing my life and continuing to be there for me and our amazing KA community. So that's for you too. That's for Mr. Mendenhall and Mrs. Cobb. Just, I love comments like that, because you two seem to be unaware of how much our purpose at Karate America is we inspire people to believe in themselves, and you're such an inspiration to people. People are so excited to just have you in our community. And I don't know if you realize how impactful you've been for our community. So there you go.
That's a little scary, isn't it?
It's really nice to hear that, but it's not really something that I think most people like. I'm walking around, hey, I inspire people, right? I mean, I don't know.
But you do.
That other people have been inspired by anything I can do. Like,
isn't that amazing?
Yeah, thank you.
That is amazing. Mr. Quirk's jumping in here with a little trivia. Little known fact, I remember this. Mrs. Cobb used to teach our body pump. Remember body pump?
It wasn't called body pump.
Body combat.
Right.
Body, yeah, body
combat. I remember that.
Yes. Awesome.
That was really, that was pretty hardcore. So that was how you all got started. And I mean, because I think that parents training with kids, most people are surprised to know that I think it's like 85 to 90% of our adults are parents they originally, just like you, bring their kids in, and then no. Sometimes people like right away that second, Mr. Mendenhall, and sometimes it takes people like a few months or even a few years, but eventually we have a lot of parents join our adult class. So talk about what that experience is like with not just necessarily bringing your kid to an activity and being the parent supporting them, but doing the same thing together with your kids. What is that like to train together as a family through that journey?
Mrs. Cobb.
Well, so it was nice to train together as a family, but it was also nice to have that individual challenge for yourself just to continue to go. So you knew what the kids were doing. They kind of knew what I was doing, but you still had your own thing while you were in adult class.
Yeah.
Your
own challenges.
My story is a little bit different than Mr. Mendenhall's. My kids got involved in other activities through school and sports and didn't continue on, but I did.
But you did, yeah. Yeah, you were your black belt.
Black belt in the family. And I think the other highest one was like a blue stripe.
Yeah, blue stripe, I think maybe.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love it. And I don't think it's that my kids didn't love it. I think it's just that they got involved in other things and it just got to be too much and something had to give, right?
Yeah, but that's so amazing that you continued on and earned your black belt. And Mr. Mendenhall, are you second degree, third degree, sir? I forget.
Oh, ma'am.
How many degrees are you?
I'm fourth.
You're fourth?
Woo!
So I feel right now like I'm stuck in time. Like I think I saw Nathan or something several months ago. I was like, hello, sir. Like I had no idea.
Weird,
and I'm like, how did time go like this? You're a fourth degree. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it is like Nathan stopped at second degree because as he was in high school at that point, like he had football and all his buddies were playing football. Right. And karate is something he did with me at that point. And at some point as a teenage, any boy, like it's way more important to hang out with your buddies than it is to hang out with your dad. Not that I agree with that. But so yeah, he's
now that his dad's an internet live stream celebrity, maybe he'll think, I don't know, maybe this will earn you some clout.
From his dorm room or his bedroom at home.
Right.
Yeah, but just like Mrs. Cobb when Nathan decided to stop. I mean, it was one of those. It was like, look, after you get your second degree, right? Because he was in the middle of that. Like at that point, you can choose to take a break, be done, come back later, whatever. But you're going to finish the commitment you've made at this point.
Right.
And football and lacrosse were both really time consuming, and he split off and did all that stuff. And and then by his senior year, it was just too much schoolwork to even bother with football and lacrosse, and then it was just focusing on school and the college.
So, what was your decision to continue, Mr. Mendenhall? Is it just that you loved it that much? I mean, what do you continue to get out of martial arts? I mean, you're still training today.
Yeah.
Degree. So what do you continue to get beyond, hey, this is great for my kid and I love training, I love having fun with my kid? What do you get out of it?
Right. Well, I mean, technically I'm on a short hiatus right now, temporary, but yeah, I'm definitely still training. And I for me, it's far more than the physical aspect of martial arts. It's the family at Karate America. I honestly love everyone. It is. And I saw someone commented before, it's the family you get to choose. And it really is. It's such a sense of camaraderie and like shared goals that it's a very unique experience to walk into something like that. And I don't really think there are many other situations in life that really bring people together with this absolutely shared common goal of making themselves better people.
Yeah.
And it's not even the acquisition of the next belt. Like,
right.
That's kind of one of those cool markers that helps you like check your progress along the way.
Yep.
But the whole thing is just, I want to be better today than I was yesterday, and hopefully I make a teeny bit of progress. And being in karate, being at karate just makes you want to do that even more and helps give you some of the skills to do it. So yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's a magical place. We all know it, right? And I don't know. It is one of those things.
Hey, I have proof actually. Mrs. Cobb provided us with this, that it is a magical place. Remember that picture?
Isn't that awesome?
Isn't that awesome? That's one of my favorite pictures ever. If you guys like this picture that Karate America is at the end of the rainbow, leave us some rainbow emojis.
That is definitely the
when I saw this, I remember seeing this picture. I think somebody shared it on Facebook. I can't remember who, and I was just blown away. I was like, who captured this? Somebody like Mrs. Cobb. I was like, of course she captured this moment where the rainbow ends at Karate America. So
that's how cool is that?
That's really cool. It was after a rainstorm, I think, in Brookfield. Thank you, Mrs. Peeper.
Rainbow.
We got rainbow emojis here. That's awesome. And so, Mr. Mena, I think you bring up a really good point with of continuing to being better. And I personally think that, I think as an adult outside, like you said, like outside of work and church and kids and things like that, there's not a lot of places in our society really for adults to just connect outside of those, 3 or 4 areas, and be in a sense of community. And to your point, Mrs. Cobb, not to be selfish, but like, it's just for me, like I get on that floor and for 45 minutes, it's just, I let everything else out and I just breathe and I'm here. I think that there are places where people can be a part of a community, but one of the really great benefits is for adults, I think the physical aspect. I mean, I remember when I was taking class, and I remember how physically it was like everything. It was cardio, it was strengthening, it was flexibility, it was hand-eye coordination, it was balance. It was so well-rounded. Yeah. And I remember going to like a gym or something, taking another class and being sort of like, is this it? Because it was such a hard workout. And I think we have a picture here of you sparring Mr. Mena now, and people just get like drenched. I mean, it's no joke. It's a really, really, really intense workout. There you go. I don't know if you guys can see, but Mr. Menenau's uniform is wet.
That was on my first degree black belt test.
Yep. And look who you're sparring. Look who you're taking a kick from there, Mr. Quirk. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was after maybe I think 4 other rounds already. And Mr. Quirk came over to me. I was just barely hanging on. Mr. Quirk came over. He whispers to me. He's like, "Can you say the alphabet?" So I started doing the alphabet. He's like, "Okay, let's go another round." Probably should have acted way more winded right there.
I don't remember sparring Mr. Quirk, but I did. He told me afterwards. I don't remember. I just kept kicking and punching, and they're like, "Come on,
just like,
come on, keep going." Okay.
Yeah, it's always fun to see everybody just being like Rock'em Sock'em Robot, just like make the hands go, try to stay standing.
Yeah,
so I think it's really funny that you mentioned
a couple hours.
Yeah, Mr. Menenau and I are like sweaty. I'm like Sweaty Betty when I do class, and he's like Mr. Sweaty, It's like,
there you go. Nobody sweats like Mr. Menenau. Although, if you guys remember Mr. Ty River, he might have had you beat. I took class with Mr. Ty River. That was one hydrated gentleman. I will. One of our instructors from back in the day. He was. And I say that out of love, and we used to say that to his face, and he would laugh and claim his puddles on the mat with pride. So
right now, I think it might be me and Mr. Wolf might be really kind of tied.
Yes, I've cleaned many puddles.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get your badge for that.
Sorry, but I am a little. Yeah.
We'll get your badge for that. Most sweaty.
Here you go.
But it is really a good workout. And I think, as adults, it's like, I don't know that we get this place. Like, you can go to a gym and you can take a class and do things, but I don't know that there's just that love and that bond and that community together with all that physical benefits. And I know we had, I think it was it was one of our parents that was one of our very first families. I know you both trained with him, and he was sharing that I think he trained at either maybe 2nd degree black belt, and was doing really well and going in for his doctor's appointment. And his doctor was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm eating all the same things, doing all the same things, but I'm training in martial arts, with his blood pressure and stuff." He's like, "Well, keep doing it." So after he earned a 2nd degree, he didn't train anymore. His daughter did. And I remember he walked up to the counter one day. He's like, "Where's the paperwork? I got to enroll again." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I went back to the doctors and my blood pressure is up and my weight is up." And he's like, and the doctor's like, "What changed?" He's like, "Did you quit martial arts?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You need to." So he came back and like trained to his next degree, but it's an amazing physical and emotional and spiritual, I think, experience.
Yeah. Agreed.
For adults.
Yep.
Like, I think we all need some level of physical outlet, like, depending on what most of us do. I think most of us are relatively sedentary at work. I'm not everybody, obviously. I know for me, though, right, being a college teacher, most of my job is sitting. Yeah. So, the ability to go do something like martial arts and actually get up and move in a way that, like, I don't know, I love martial arts beyond all of that as well. Like, there's lots of other things we can do for exercise, right? Yeah. None of them are as cool. Or like, I don't know how many people I've told and had give me really strange looks when you tell them how, when you're sparring with people, you're encouraging them to try to kick you in the face. And you're really happy for them when they do. And like, most people just don't get that. I'm like, "Oh, it's awesome when someone kicks me in the face." Like, I love that.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
I know I'm a little out there anyway, but a lot of people, that whole concept is very strange. And I just don't get it, because, like, to me, that's just like what we're really all about. Like, I just want people to make progress.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Mendenhall loves to spar. That's really
a lot of fun.
That's not my thing. I mean, I'll do it and it's fine, and I can do it, but it is not but I love self-defense.
Nice.
Love it.
What do you love about it?
You know what? Just that feeling of controlling my body and potentially being able to defend myself, or at least giving myself the ability to take care of myself.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an interesting little like strategy, I think, too, sort of like this mechanical piece to it that's sort of interesting in the moment of sort of like doing it again and again and again until I get it and feeling that flow kick in. I mean, not that like I'm anything great, but even just sort of at a rudimentary level, there's something sort of interesting and fun, like some brain connection there.
Well, it's that muscle memory in there, and just that quick, like, okay, somebody's coming back from behind, like automatic reaction, like, "Oop, this is what I do." And I think that as a woman, can't say anything for a man, not there, but I really think that gives you a little bit of self-confidence. Yeah. Not overly confident, but enough that you can do something to get away if somebody was coming at you. Just being aware of your surroundings and what's going on.
Yeah, I think definitely. I don't think that any woman, I don't know that any woman is ever going to like overpower necessarily like, a 6'5" guy or whatever. But sometimes, I've read a lot of case studies with this, and people who train in martial arts, just to your point, Mrs. Cobb, have that muscle awareness, that muscle memory. And sometimes it gives you that like few seconds to just at least get away or not be just frozen, like what's happening, and I do think that that's important from what I've read. So I agree.
It may be just as much that you're more trained to pay attention to your surroundings and you notice things a little bit earlier, right? You saw that guy over there where, if you hadn't ever thought about martial arts, you might just be walking with the blinders on.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's when we're all in danger. So, I'm a physically large enough person that I don't tend to think too much about that. And I don't know that that's really my martial arts training. I mean, on some levels, I've always kind of hoped I'd be tested, but I really don't actually want to be, right?
Yeah. Right.
But I'm like, I would like to know, actually, if it did do all of those things for me that I would hope that it's done. So, every once in a while, I just get to test stuff out on my brother and, give him a bruise or something.
Are you asking for us to send Mr. Quirk like a ninja and hide in your shrubbery out front some night when you're...
That would be awesome.
How about that?
Like, I'm totally in for that.
Speaking of Mr. Quirk, he's like, "Hey, Mr. Mendenhall, don't scare the new people," talking about Everybody doesn't have to approach martial arts with the zeal that Mr. Mendenhall does. It's for everybody on the spectrum of physicality and right.
I mean, that actually brings up a real legit point. Like when I was back instructing, and I think for 4 or 5 years I taught classes, I remember having conversations with Mr. Quirk about that kind of thing, where really, like, I have, and we all do, right? We all have an idea in our mind of what a black belt's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And I had that idea for myself, and not that I really hit the ideal of what I thought I was supposed to be, but once I started teaching, you know, it was the realization that we're all on our own path and we all have our own journey. And that was one of those things that, like, kind of once that mind shift happened, it was like, oh, like, and again, it's one of those things like, how did I not approach things that way before? And again, it's one of those things that, like, I truly credit Mr. Quirk for being able to kind of pull me aside and go, hey, maybe not quite so drill sergeant-y, right? And we're all in this together, but we're all still on our own path here. And then I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Cool.
That's a great point. And I know I like to tell, I mean, I've seen a lot, I think almost every single black belt graduation since I've been a part of the Karate America community, even back in Madison. And I think that some people, Mr. Quirk and I have talked about this, you know, some people will look at the black belt show or at candidate class or at class, whatever. And I think, and we talked about this a couple episodes ago, but I think sometimes people don't know what else to look for. So they look for like how high somebody is kicking or how deep their horse stance is or whatever it may be, right? They look at the physicality. And I think that's completely understandable. Like, no, I get it. However, you know, for me being on the inside as a Karate America team member, I knew those people, I knew those kids, I knew those families. And I could look up on the stage and I knew every single, no drama, every single person, every single family behind that person and what they had overcome and accomplished to stand up on that stage. I mean, there are people who just to show up, right, and go through that test is like 3 or 4 years ago, absolutely wouldn't have happened, right? And then there's some people with more athletic ability and there's some people who are louder, there's some people, whatever. And I think that what maybe some people don't always get, to your point, Mr. Mendenhall, is everybody's on their own journey. And some people are blessed to be able to crank it physically, but they're dealing with some, you know, some internal things. And that for them is the challenge. So who are we to judge, you know, who's really giving 100%, quote unquote, or not, because everybody's on their own path and their own journey. So it's a really astute point that you make.
Well, for me, it was a huge life lesson and super impactful and something I've taken into like every other aspect of life. Well, as a college teacher, right? That's one of those things that if you don't take the time to know the people that like as an instructor, and I was super new as an instructor at this point, until you get to take the time to actually understand all of those stories. Right? You can't understand anyone's journey. So yeah, it's that kind of stuff that now I think as a college teacher too, I'm far more involved in trying to find out like why a student might be struggling or having a problem rather than saying, look, you didn't turn it in on time, here's a bad grade, right? Like it's like, hey, what's going on? Like, how can I help? And that's, again, it's one of those things that I absolutely credit so many of those things to the time that I've had at Karate America and the time I was able to be an instructor. It's just super amazing.
Right. Well, you know, I think too is like journey wise, you know, Mr. Mendenhall can kick like way high. That would not be me. However, you know, different paths, same end goal of black belt. But it's always kind of funny. Some people are so focused on getting their black belt. That wasn't necessarily my focus. My focus was great exercise, doing something that challenged me. And improving and you're just getting better over the time and something that I could do on the continuum of time. I mean, my body very different compared to when I was in my early 30s when I started and now. But yet I can still do things and I can still do all the stuff. I may hurt a little bit more the next day now, but you know, it's still the fact that your body, you have control of your body. You know what it can do and you can push it a little harder. And it's just a great feeling to get out there and do it and maybe not take yourself so seriously, which is why I laugh too much during class, but I have
never too much.
Not you, Mrs.
And I think that's also actually something that's reassuring for other students on the floor, right? To know that any one of us is going to be making a mistake at pretty much any given time. And if we can laugh it off and not really be like, concerned about it, it's like, look, it's just part of the process. So like, have fun with the process. You'll get there.
Yeah. So, both of you, one of the aspects, it kind of brings me to my next question. One of the things that you both have in common is that you made the bridge from being a student, a community member, to being a Karate America team member, and working for our company. So, Mr. Menon, I'll start with you. What was your journey to be an instructor? What was that journey like, or that decision?
It was actually a very strange decision. It was one of those that, like, I was teaching full time, and so based on my like outside job, like, it was one of those that I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it fit. And Mr. Quirk and I had talked over a couple of months, and it was just one of those, like, I didn't know if it was going to be possible. I really wanted to. But it's also one of those, Mr. Ty River was transitioning out at that point, and I ended up taking over classes for him.
Oh, that's right.
And there was, like, I know, right? Like, because I know when Mr. Ty River took over for Mr. Quirk and covered more of the classes, I know for me as a student, it was like, oh, Mr. Ty River is just not Mr. Quirk.
Yep, it always happens, no matter who it is.
Right, and then I got used to Mr. Ty River, loved Mr. Ty River. And I know as he left and I took over for him, other students felt the exact same way. And I really
who's this guy?
Because, and so, like, it was one of those kind of smoother transitions, right? It's not like I just jumped in and took over completely. I started running warm-ups and doing that kind of stuff for Mr. Ty River. And then started developing lesson plans. And as Mr. Quirk was, like, kind of reviewing my lesson plans, he started getting more and more confident that I could actually run a class. Mm-hmm. But there were still many times in the beginning, because the curriculum wasn't as structured as it is now, right? There were still, on our cards, right, there were certain techniques and certain portions of forms and that kind of stuff that we were working on. But as the instructor, there wasn't really a, like, just do this to get them there. It was like, here's
a lot more art.
Right.
Yeah, I think we've been able to put science to get that art to come out rather than the art. But yeah, I remember the attendance cards and getting like holding them out, and the instructor would come by and
blast from the past.
Right.
And we had those like plexiglass card holders up front with all the colors, and have to go in and like root through and find my card.
Yeah, and then we'd stamp them. Right.
And I still have a picture. I don't know. I should bring it out for a live stream someday. But when we always had underbelt graduations at Brookfield, we just had it right there, in the gym. And I would decorate and put like twirly, what's it called? The crepe paper,
right.
Like down all the seams with like the balloons at the top. And we would get balloons and have underbelt graduation there.
It was great. I mean, I think, like I said, it was either 4 or 5 years that I taught. And the only reason I stopped teaching was because it was just too much time with me teaching 2 nights a week and then taking class 2 nights a week. I just didn't get to see my family. So something had to give. And it would be my training after talking to Mr. Quirk. He was like, look, if you have to give anything up, you can't give up taking care of yourself. He's like, as much as we want you to keep teaching, I was in tears in this conversation saying that I had to stop teaching, because I really didn't want to. It was just, there was no choice, right?
Yeah.
Like, schedule.
Well, we've got more flexible options now, so maybe we'll get you back someday, Mr.
Right.
Menon.
No, I'm all for it. Well, I gotta get through the knee recovery first, and then
but that's all part of the journey. But I think there are a lot of people that would be very excited to have you back, even just on a part-time basis, to jump into some classes.
I'll run warm-ups for Mr. Hansen or something.
What about you, Mrs. Cobb? What went into your decision to why be a KA team member? Why not just stop at being a client?
Well, do you remember the phase of going from your $9.99 trial classes into like the cost of karate? I mean, it was a commitment,
the tuition,
right? And it was, and the kids loved it. It was worthwhile. We really thought they were getting a lot of benefit from it, as well as myself. And when we were in there talking about that, Mr. Quirk kind of jokingly said, we're looking for a cleaning person. After Mr. Cobb, my husband, said, oh, she cleans windows. And that's pretty much the story I've been cleaning ever since.
And keeping everything spick and span at Brookfield. Well, what has been your, I mean, so I think, and I always tell when I interview, sometimes we have interviews and parents want to come on board with our team, which is always amazing, just even to have that conversation with them. And we're so honored that, you know, but what has been for both of you, I guess, what's been your experience as a KA team member behind the scenes? Because it's one thing to be a client and a student and a family, but seeing how we operate as a company behind the scenes, what's been your experience? And I know that you're sitting here like live with the owner, but like, go for it.
You know what, this whole,
there's nothing
with one of the owners. Sorry,
we wouldn't be here this long had we not liked it. But this is a very unique place to work, and the Quirks have been wonderful people to work for the entire time. I have not one complaint, and you know, both of us have outside jobs as well. And it's just a nice place. It's very family oriented. It's very open and honest when you're having conversations. It's just a really positive environment. And with how karate has moved over the last several years to having their purpose and values and everything really written out and very to the point.
Yeah, and explicit. Yeah.
It was the same things all along. It's just now they're printed out and very specific.
Yeah.
And anybody that gets to be involved in an environment that is like that and just celebrates their employees and encourages them, you can't ask for better than that. I tell the younger people that are working there, you have no idea how lucky you are to be involved in an environment that puts forth these types of like the little drama triangle and all these things that you're learning. I know adults that don't know this stuff.
No.
Right? You know, somebody's got something to say to you, they come and say it to you, not to the 8 other people that you work with.
Yeah.
It's just
the telephone game actually gets you accurate information at some point. Yeah.
Exactly. And just the communication and being more aware of your feelings inside before you spit them out. It really is a very, very positive environment.
Yeah. And then there's the holiday parties. I know you probably have one complaint though, Mrs. Cobb. I think it was 1 or 2 holiday parties ago. I had specifically ordered, I always set up the menu and I was like, Mrs. Cobb cannot do chocolate. So I had some lemon, I don't even know what it was. And I walked in that day, they were like, just so you know, we're out of that other dessert. And I was like, no. Oh, no. And we only had like a chocolate dessert and I felt so terrible. I carry that with me that we failed.
Think of how many calories you saved me. You're off the hook. You're good.
I was like, you don't understand. I need that for Mrs. Cobb. I was like ready to like drive to Pick and Save or something and get you a vanilla cupcake from the bakery. But what about you, Mr. Menino? What's been your experience behind the scenes at KA?
Behind the scenes was always like, it's an extra level of magic. It really is. Like it's stuff that, not everybody gets to see it. It's like you're privileged to be a part of it.
Yes.
I've never felt like I was going to work when I was going there, right? It was just that I got to run the class. Like I wasn't going to work. I was just basically running a class and helping people. So no, the super amazing part of kind of being able to be behind the scenes is like Mrs. Cobb was saying, all of those kind of skills that Karate America wants to give its employees to help its employees be better employees and better people. I've never worked at a place before that has had that kind of mindset toward its employees. Mm-hmm. Most of the time it's like, hey, we hired you for this skill set, do that job, and don't make a lot of noise, just do the job we tell you to do. Karate America was like, look, we want to hear what you have to say. Do you think anything's wrong? Do you think we can make anything better? It's just like, what? Like, you really, like, you want input? You want to know how you can make things better?
Is this a trick?
Right. Most employers are not looking for ways to improve themselves. They're looking for critique, I should say. I think most employers probably look for ways to improve, but they don't look to their employees for that critique, which it's one of those things, like, who else is going to have a better idea of how to make those improvements than the people that are really working on the front line? Yeah. So, no, it was always one of those just really senses of camaraderie that it's not a job. It's just a place you go to do things to help other people, and you maybe get paid for it too. Which is
Well, thank you both. Thank you both for your kind words. You know, we're as with all of our team members, we're so grateful to have you guys just as part of our community and have you been a part of our team over the years and hopefully well into the future. But you know, I think you bring up a good point, just segueing into our purpose and values. And I know in our conscious communication work that we do with the MIC systems and Rudy MIC and those kinds of things. Yeah. So first of all, I wanted to throw it out. If anybody watching or listening right now has any questions for Mr. Menino, any questions for Mrs. Cobb, or wanted to share anything, go ahead and put a comment in. If you are on Facebook, look right above us and there's instructions how to go to StreamYard so that we can actually see you. Just verify yourself through that so that I can see your name and you're not just random Facebook user. YouTube, same thing. But please, if you have any comments, questions, anything like that for either one of our guests tonight, please feel free to drop them a comment, drop them a question, and we'll see what we come up with here. But I wanted to talk. I know we're coming to the end of our episode tonight, but one thing that I wanted to ask both of you about, and you touched on this a little bit, Mrs. Cobb, is that probably we're coming on here almost close to 10 years-ish. I think it's about like 7, 8, something like that years ago. You know, we did work with Rudy MIC, which many of our families and parents know about. Some of you have been to trainings and things like that with him. And we didn't create our purpose and values, but to your point, Ms. Cobb, you know, we uncovered what was already there and decided to get just really clear and really explicit about who we are as an organization, very unapologetic, just very, very clear and upfront about our purpose and which values actually guide our behaviors and which values we choose to behave. And along with that came our conscious communication tools. And we rolled this out to all of our families, our students, certainly our staff, and you both were there for that transition. So you were Rudy MIC and conscious communication, purpose and values. I remember specifically having this conversation with you, Mr. Menino. You were actually like kind of skeptical. Yeah. And you were like, this sounds like weird, bad marriage counseling, right? Pretty weird stuff. But I remember having this conversation, but you're like, but I love you guys. And if you guys are into it, like I'll listen, I'll hear. And so now years later, talk to me about what that feeling was like with transitioning from the old KA where things were just kind of implicit and like, everybody comes in here and just does a good job and we're good people, to getting really explicit using these tools and talking about our purpose and values explicitly. What's been both of your experience? I'd love to hear.
I'll jump in. Honestly, yeah, like literally, like you said, it was very awkward at first, right? It was one of those things when you don't communicate that way to try to shift into that level of like literally conscious communication and not talking like, I just assume everybody knows what I'm talking about, even though I'm not saying what I actually mean, right? That's the kind of stuff that at first it was very awkward for me. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things that once I kind of stepped back a little bit and really looked at the literature, it was one of those, like, you could absolutely see how beneficial it would be once you got past how it felt awkward to talk that way at first, because it was a shift. But really, that's the kind of stuff too that I do think has helped my marriage and that kind of stuff over time as well. Because really, when you do have that kind of ability to communicate without having that kind of drama naturally involved in certain conversations, it makes so many things so much easier. Yes. When you can have a conversation that has to be a critical, maybe in some way, that it's not drama. Yeah. It's just these are the facts as I see them, and now we need to talk about what that is. Yeah, isn't it funny? It's funny you mentioned that, because isn't it funny how like to just speak explicitly feels weird? Yeah. At first, it's like we're all like, if I have something to say, I just say it, and then we actually have to do that, and it's like, this is weird. I actually sort of pad what I'm saying and kind of do it in a roundabout way and use sarcasm and things like that. So I share that. It's a little strange at first. Right. It also, I think, makes you realize that so many conversations you've probably had in the past, you probably left the other person really wondering what you meant. Yeah. And then that's I think a hard transition for people too, where I don't really want to believe I was a poor communicator before that. Right. But maybe a little bit. That's a good point. Oh, definitely coming from a different work environment where that maybe there's some poor communication or some hidden agendas aren't out, and you do learn to kind of talk and beat around the bush to try to get to the point.
and you've just wasted all this energy, and you really haven't communicated your real true intention at the time.
Right.
And if you just are able to remove emotion, remove the fear of maybe what you're saying, say what you need to say, minus the body language, minus all this other, it really is so much more effective. And I think people, once you get used to it, you like that.
Yeah.
Right.
You're so appreciative.
Who likes it? Who likes it?
I
Hashtag I statements.
And you're right. It's amazing when you can feel that the person you're talking to is going to receive what you're saying in a way that you know that they're engaged in the conversation and the goal of making advancement as well. Where like in a lot of situations, you want to tell someone that they need to do something different or that they could do something different or better. And you're afraid how they're going to take it because you're worried that they don't actually care about making that improvement.
Right.
And then that becomes very awkward. But,
or that your relationship might change, right? If I have this really honest conversation with this person, so I'll kind of couch it and I won't really say the thing because I don't want to lose the friendship or I don't want to hurt their feelings or I don't want them to think differently or whatever. So it's funny, like we talk about in our training, we don't necessarily recognize that as communicating and operating from a place of fear, but it's really operating from a place of fear. And we say that it's love and it's being nice, but it just leads down, in my experience, a negative path because the root, if we trace it back, it looks like being nice. And we talk about kind, nice, right? But it's rooted in fear. And I think sometimes, in an organization, in a team, one of the things that we try, and we don't always hit the mark. We make mistakes, we fall down, we screw up just like any other organization. We're human beings. But we always pick ourselves back up and try really hard to just have these honest communication, these conversations with each other using our tools on purpose. I mean, everything roots back to our purpose. So to your point, Mr. Menenow, it's like literally everybody is there for the same purpose and being guided by the same values, which is huge. And we're all agreeing to use these tools together. So even when we screw up and make mistakes, and there's always going to be mistakes and conflicts, we will get through this together because of our purpose and our values, and we are a team. I mean, I think it was 1 or 2 episodes ago, it's like in my opinion, my experience, a relationship is a relationship when things aren't going well.
Yeah, right.
Like anybody can have a great work environment where everybody's agreeing and, but when a conflict comes up, it's like, okay, so how are we going to deal with each other? Right. Yeah. When we don't agree and we have an uncomfortable, awkward conversation to have, here's where we're really going to show up for each other.
Yeah.
And I think
absolutely true.
And I think that we like to think about the fun, happy memories, absolutely. But when we really think about times when things haven't been great, it's like those are times that I'm most proud of my team. And I'm most proud of us as an organization because we can still come out the other end stronger because we are united in purpose and values and these communication tools. And I hope that you both have had that same experience or similar experience.
Definitely.
And I'll also say, because we're going to wrap things up here, somehow we've gone through an hour. But wow. I think that
we got another hour.
2 hour live stream. Right. Hashtag Menenow Cobb. Right. But I think that another thing hopefully for both of you, and I think I sense this especially, I think, to be honest, I sensed it with both of you, but especially you, Mr. Menenow, because you kind of wear your heart on your sleeve and you don't hold much back. But it's like, okay, so when Rudy Mick comes in and we do this training and we're rolling out and purpose, values, new communication tools, are we going to change as an organization? Is this going to change? Or is this going to be like a different Karate America? Yeah. And I think that people who have been with us for a long time, I hope, have seen that of course we change and evolve, but that heart and that core and that purpose is still there.
Definitely.
And that was something that was important that our people see and understand. This isn't us going in a different direction. This is us actually just going deeper into the course that we've always intended to be on.
And getting better. Doesn't get,
do you think, I mean, honestly, do you think that it's been, I guess that's my last question, we've evolved and changed. A lot of changes have happened in our company over the past, Brookfield's coming up in 2023 on our 20-year anniversary. Pewaukee in June is going to be the 5-year anniversary. So you've been with us through a lot of years. Like, what have we changed in a good way? What are the changes that you have seen in the Karate America organization during your time?
For me, I mean, really the change has been subtle, steady progress, right? I mean, it's the idea that like we were saying, at first, when I first started instructing, it was a lot more loose, right? There was a general structure, but exactly how you got there was kind of up to you. I like that as a person, but there were definitely times where that was a lot harder, right? As an instructor, to come up with every lesson and then potentially try to make sure that if a student did switch classes, that they weren't completely lost in someone else's class. So the idea that things have gotten more structured is incredibly helpful for all of the staff
it's all for the
be
students,
able to understand where everybody should be. And, you know, the conscious communication stuff, again, like we were saying, was a little awkward at first, but it's one of those things that once you kind of get past that bit of awkwardness, it's obvious how valuable and worthwhile it is. I know over the 14 or 15 years that I've been there, I have seen amazing, wonderful, beautiful, steady progress forward with everybody there trying to live those purposes and values. And it's been great to see that those things have become solidified and something that we literally have as part of the core of the company. There's everything. Okay, I can't say everything. That might be a sweeping generalization.
It's drama, right?
But what you guys are doing is good. I love everything about Karate America, and really, like through the knee replacement and everything else, like my main goal is getting back there.
Well, that's an exciting goal for us to look forward to. So we can't wait. We'll do a countdown to Mr. Menino coming back.
Hopefully it won't be too long. Tomorrow is 3 weeks from the surgery. So it's like still real stiff and swollen. So it doesn't look like a knee yet, but hopefully within like 4 or 5 weeks, I'll be able to set foot in the door and maybe do a light workout. You know what?
That's going to be fantastic.
I agree.
Fantastic. What about you, Mrs. Cobb? What have you seen? What changes have you seen? Have we changed for the better? What really strikes you as changes in the organization over the years? What's shifted? What's changed?
You just see more the intention from everyone. I mean, I don't teach classes, but I've gone to classes, and I can tell you that personally, I've developed and have changed in many ways because of all the things that have changed there. And I'm sure if that's happened with me, it's happened with many others there. And I think that just makes you a better person, a better communicator, better at relationships, whether personal or work type. You're making a better community out of everybody. So I think just positive. So
thank you for saying that. So I make up a story, I create a story that if any adults, any parents are listening right now and they're hesitant to go get involved, you would advise them to pull the trigger and go get their white uniform and jump out into class. Is that right?
That is not a decision anyone will ever regret.
Yes, for sure. Oh yeah, you're kidding. You let me know. I'll come to your first class with you.
Right.
There you go. Leave a comment below. Mrs. Cobb put that out there. So we're going to pencil her in, and she'll be there to cheer you on for your first class. If you want to take the Mrs. Cobb challenge, and if you're not training, you're not jumping out of the class. And the Cobb Menino Challenge 2021. You come as an adult for a class at either Pewaukee or Brookfield. And I am committing these two, and I'm scheduling them right now. They'll be there in some way, shape, or form to cheer you on for your very first class. That's pretty exciting.
Awesome.
I love it. Okay, so we are. Thanks, Mrs. Jura says, but best decision I made. So there you go. So if anybody's on the fence, get off that fence and grab a white uniform and come jump out on the floor. So we are at the end of our episode tonight. You guys, thank you so much for being. This has been an awesome conversation. I hope that you had a good live stream experience and that you will come back someday if I invite you back as a guest, and we can have this conversation again and a follow up. I do want to announce this is really, really exciting. So next Tuesday night, it's going to be Tuesday, April 20th. Our special guest right here in the live stream is going to be none other than Rudy Mick.
No way!
Yep. So
that's a big deal, really.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. So talking about purpose, values, conscious communication, Mr. Mick is going to be live with us on the KA live stream, sitting right where you're sitting, not in your living rooms, but here on the stream. And he is going to be talking to us about all the ways that his purpose, values, conscious communication work has impacted Karate America, our families over the years. I'm really, really excited. I have a feeling, knowing Mr. Mick and how into his work he is, that this also might be an episode that might go a few minutes over 1 hour. So if anybody watching, if you know Mr. Mick, if you're familiar with his conscious communication, purpose, values, I mean, he's a huge, huge mentor for our organization, for our team, for me personally, for Mr. Quirk personally. Mr. Quirk is going to join us on the episode. So it's going to be me, Mr. Quirk, Mr. Mick, just talking about all those things. Get your questions ready, get your comments ready, because he will be here with us next Tuesday night, April 20th at 8 p.m. So please join us. For those of you who are on YouTube, we need more subscribers on our YouTube page. We're up to 118 subscribers in April. I would be so excited to hit like 125, 130. So if you can help us out, we know that right now about 60 or 70% of people who watch our YouTube channel aren't subscribing. So come on, guys. Down at the bottom, I think it's like the bottom right-hand corner, there'll be a subscribe. Just click it. That's all you have to do. And then you'll be subscribed to our channel. You'll get notification about when we go live. Leave a comment, like, it means a lot to us. Thank you so much for your support. Everybody watching, everybody joining, commenting. Thank you guys. We do this live stream for you. So if you have comments about how you'd like the episodes to be better, what we can do better to make them more fun, more engaging, more effective, please leave a comment below. I read every comment and I'll be happy to make the shift if I can. So until next time, if you want to feel amazing, go find somebody, whether you've known them for 40 years or 4 minutes, inspire them to believe in themselves, and then feel how amazing that feels as a person. At Karate America, our purpose is we inspire people to believe in themselves, and we will see you next week. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks.